welcome to Discussions, a series brought to you by L, J, and the J.
For our second episode, we have a very special guest. He is a stellar literary mind and a dear friend.
We're excited to be joined by Dr. Ian Williams. He's a member at our local congregation, the author of 6 books of fiction, nonfiction, and poetry. His novel, Reproduction, won the Scotiabank Giller Prize in 2019 and was published in Canada, the US, the UK, and Italy. His latest book, Disorientation, considers the impact of racial encounters on ordinary people.
We gave our guest a few questions, and we can't wait to hear his responses.
Discussions, welcome, Professor Ian Williams.
My favorite color is orange, right? And I'm not really an orange person, but I do like it. It's vibrant and warm. Favorite place has to be at home, right? I'm an introvert. I like rooms. I like buildings. I like being inside spaces, as opposed to people who are always like, I love being in nature. Favorite book. Favorite book. So I have a few favorite books, and I get sentimental about them based on different points in my life. But the book that I'll put forward is one from like my university days, I think, and that's a book by Margaret Atwood called Power Politics, and it's a book of love poems. So influences in my youth that inform my career path. I think there are objects and then there are people. And so there are people who were like incredibly important who kind of modeled a potential life for me. Like I could look at, say, Michael Philpotts and say, hey, that's a good kind of man to be, right? That seems like the epitome of manhood there. And then there are other kinds of like institutions and objects, right? Like public libraries and like classes and good schools. Those things mattered for me. And I spent a lot of time alone as a kid too. And I would read like Guide magazine on Sabbaths and, just a kind of steady routine. And yeah, the church too also plays a big part in there, right? There's almost nothing as regular as church apart from school when you're growing up. My creative process. So I write many different kinds of things, right? Poetry, fiction, nonfiction, and write things that defy genre as well. And it can be, if I'm writing a book or so, if I'm writing a story, I know it's going to take me 7 drafts. A novel might take 11 drafts, and each draft has a very clear purpose and function. I really do like to make and fix things in general, and I never quite turn off. And so even when I'm sleeping, I'm still turned on, so to speak, right? I mean, that I never let a project go, right? The project is always working somewhere in my mind. So I'll wake up and I'll scribble a note, and I'll have things on my phone that I transform into some piece of art or something creative. I listen to conversations, I listen to music, I go to the grocery store and I wait for something to hit me while looking at a package. I'm always like receiving. And so that kind of sensitivity is really important, I think, to the creative process, to stay open to the world, to stay alive to the world, to reserve judgment of people and things. And if you like hold yourself open as a kind of container or vessel, art and creativity will be comfortable kind of locating you and sitting with you. Yeah, what is humility here? Yeah, I've heard people say this about me, and I actually don't. I feel like I'm just myself, right? Like humble is not an attribute that you do. It's not like being kind, right? Where you do something. It's a kind of state that you're in all the time. So I don't think there's another way to be, at least not for me, right? There's like no exception. And I think it's really fake when people put on humility temporarily to gain points in whatever situation they're in. So they put it on, they take it off, or they humble brag about things, and yeah, all of that I find just kind of like distasteful. But if you're constantly in a state of like calm and grounded sweetness, I think like humility is just the natural outcome of that. If you mind your business as well, like don't get involved in like petty dramas or trivia. And you stay unruffled and unflustered by the things going on around you. Um, that calmness, I think, translates as a kind of humility. And it's really this kind of groundedness that things will be okay, right? Regardless. Um, and I guess maybe humility, what people read as humility at least, is a feature of knowing that there are things that are outside of my control. I'm okay with that, and things are going to be fine ultimately. How does my dream life match up to my current reality? If I can sort of like remove the pandemic, right, from all of this, I would say it is quite close. It wasn't always close, but the older I get, the closer I get to my ideal life. And it's funny because when you're young, you have all of these advantages, or younger than me, right? You have all these advantages. You're at your most beautiful and you're at your most energetic and you're physically strong and all of those things. Um, but you're not able to create the ideal life for yourself because you're still in progress, right? You're still developing, and also you don't have the means or the resources to quite have, say, like the material things you need to have a good life. Um, but eventually there comes a place where, you're striving, and ambition actually starts to pay off. And the results, it's about 50-50, like striving, and the other 50 is like satisfaction. And so I feel like I'm in that place right now where I can go forward without pressure, and create and inhabit the life that I want for myself, right? It's not a fixed state either, right? This idea that, you have this perfect ideal idea for your life. For many people, it's like a wife and 2 kids and a dog and a house, detached house somewhere, like that kind of life. But that's not the ideal life for everybody. And it's not entirely material either. And so I feel that so I've kind of caught up to my idea of what I wanted. And now that I am where I want it to be, the ideal life becomes more refined, right? So it becomes more precise, and the petty things of wanting this degree or that degree or this job or that degree kind of melt away, and the ideal life becomes about kind of contentment and satisfaction with what you have achieved already and what the future has in store for you. How does Christianity affect my work? It's kind of similar, like when people ask about race. I mean, there are a few sensitive subjects, right? Like how does race affect how you live, and how does Christianity affect how you live? And there's a kind of ubiquity about these two things, that they're always with you, right? Even if they're not articulated. So how you choose to sort of conduct your life and your business and all of that is an example of Christianity. How you frame the world and organize what you see and all of that, yeah, that's all part of Christianity. And I haven't really been explicit about, or doctrinally explicit or religiously explicit, I think, in my work, right? I wrote one story about Adventists a couple of years ago, but in general, um, I don't want to be part of that chorus, especially in America, where religion is deployed as a kind of authority, or a kind of, it's deployed as shorthand for a number of positions that, are really anti-Christian and non-Christian at all. And so it's very important to put forward a true version of Christianity, and not a fashionable or political version of Christianity. And that's something I've struggled with for, the last decade or so. Like, what does it really mean to be Christian outside of a Christian community? So when you're not at church, when you're in the world that can be quite hostile to Christians, um, what are our convictions? What do we actually believe and practice? And how can we show those things instead of just putting forward stereotypes and cliched language to the world about Christianity? So it's a hard thing to get right, right? I think Christianity is possibly the hardest thing to get right. It demands so much of us, and it's already so misrepresented in the world that sometimes it feels easier not to associate with it than to do the hard work of trying to recuperate it. And I would prefer to recuperate it than to abandon it. No, right now, after this conversation, for instance, I'm going to go back to working on a book that I'm writing. And Solomon says of the making of books, there's no end. And he meant, pace yourself, be careful, and all of that. But yeah, every once in a while, something grips me that I really need to think through for a few years. And so I'm going to go back and write. I'm working on fiction right now, a novel. And yeah, I'll go to Europe later this year and hopefully make it over to Japan after that. So traveling, working, writing.